All right, hi, how you doing, everybody? My name is Matthew Kalinowski, and I will be presenting the case of Sturdza versus United Arab Emirates. Let's get started here. All right, so the events that took place. So it all starts here with this competition. Back in 2001, the United Arab Emirates held an architecture competition for the designing of a new embassy in Washington, D.C. And Elena Sturdza, the plaintiff in the case, was the winner of this competition, and the United Arab Emirates hired her for work, and she began working on this new embassy, which continued for over 2 years. So, how did this suit happen? Who fired this first shot here? So, all of a sudden, United Arab Emirates cuts off all contact with Ms. Sturdza, and this also halts her work on the new DC embassy as well. So 2 years after the United Arab Emirates cuts off her work, she comes to find out that the United Arab Emirates had contracted a different architect from the District of Columbia to build the embassy, and they were never going to use her plans in the first place, even though she won this competition. So now, naturally, Sturdza is shocked here, and right after she hears the news, she files suit against the United Arab Emirates for breaching contract. All right, so the issues here. So the biggest point in this court case was molded around the fact that Sturdza had a license to build in different parts of the U.S., which, for instance, she had license to build in Maryland and Maine, but she didn't have a license to build in the District of Columbia. So Sturdza says, okay, fine, yes, I don't have a license to build anywhere in DC, but the court should allot me recovery compensation for the United Arab Emirates breaching contract and for all the work that I put into this new embassy. And also, that the DC licensing statute shouldn't apply since it was a competition. So the United Arab Emirates responds by saying basically all of those issues you're bringing up are just completely irrelevant. DC law states that if you don't have a license to build in DC, you can't build in DC. End of story. So Sturdza ends up losing this case, but she reappeals to the court, and then a second trial is held, with Sturdza suing for the same issues and demanding the same recovery compensation. All right, so rule of law here. So what is the law according to the District of Columbia? So let me preface this by saying this was brought up in both cases, the first being that the Sturdza lost, and again in this repeal case. So according to the District of Columbia, the licensing statute states that an architect cannot recover on a contract to perform architectural services in the District of Columbia if she or he lacks a District of Columbia architectural license. Plain and simple. If you don't have a license to build, no ifs, ands, or buts, it's not happening for you. And no recovery will be provided. So my analysis of the case here. Was the court correct? Well, to answer that question, of course, I have to consider both sides of this argument. Elena Sturdza puts in a massive amount of effort into this project, which she demands recovery compensation for, and that's usually how it goes, right? I mean, if you put in all of this work into a project, you should be able to reap the rewards, right? That's her understanding as well. So for the United Arab Emirates, however, they have written law on their side. So it doesn't matter that they didn't pay Sturdza. It doesn't matter that they, went behind her back and hired a different person. and ended up not using her plans at all. I mean, law is law, and that's all that really matters. So to choose a side here, as much as it pains me to say so, I have to side with United Arab Emirates because, I mean, it's one of those situations where you kind of know it's wrong, but when you look at the cards that they dealt in court, you can't beat written law there. There's just no getting around it. So, in conclusion, here to wrap this up, court final ruling for the second case. Sadly, Sturdza lost again. Not a good day for her. She would receive no recovery compensation for her work, as she had no license to build anything in DC. And another appeal, she was not allowed to appeal again. So after the appeal case, that was it for her. No compensation, no nothing. So that about wraps everything up for me here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed listening to me talk here, and hopefully you guys learned something. So thank you guys very much. Have a good night.